Welcome to the SD08 video learning series. In this tutorial we will be looking at the new KnitWriteDK font. This is an exciting new set of knitting symbols which includes a variety of symbols to represent both hand and machine knitting techniques. Symbols used in a pattern will generate both charts and text knitting instructions which can be printed directly from the program or pasted into word processing or other publishing software to enable you to publish your own patterns. This is an example of a chart. We have the symbols here. This is pick up 3 floats. You can see the abbreviation here. This is pick up 1 float. This is purl 3 together, etc. When I go to my text instructions, these instructions are for knitting the sleeve head. I knit up to row 38, decrease 7 stitches, knit 119 stitches, decrease 8 stitches at the start of the next row, knit 110, and then do this decrease at the end, etc. until I get to the end when I purl 102 stitches. This is a more complicated set of instructions or abbreviations. Here's our knit and our purl. Here's our purl 3 together, pick up 3 floats. This one says here, slip 1, knitwise 3 times, insert left needle from back through all 3 stitches and knit 3 together. And in fact, when I go into my text instructions for this, it says here knit 10. I'm on the right side of the garment, purl 10, knit 10, purl 1. Here's our knit through the back of the loop, 3 stitches, purl 1, pick up 3 floats, purl 2 in parentheses twice, pick up a float, purl 3, etc. So these can be simple instructions or they can be very complicated but well written instructions so that you can accomplish decorative knitting. In this particular one, it's a hand knitting instead of instructions. Let's go to Design and Knit now. We want to go to the Stitch Designer section of the program, and we're in the Stitch Designer section of the program. Right now I have 40 stitches by 40 rows in a default pattern in all blue stitches and all knit stitches. This is my yarn organizer here from my palette. This is my stitch symbols palette that we'll show you right now. Palettes, symbols organizer. This brings up my stitch symbols on the left, which is the KnitWriteDK font, and this is my palette that we just talked about of stitches that I'm going to want to use in this design. This blue square here indicates which stitches you have currently in your pattern. Right now I only have knit stitches, but we'll be putting in some other stitches in a few minutes. For machine knitting symbols, the smart symbols control the way in which needles are selected. Design Knit, these are in pink. Design Knit will recognize these symbols in pink and will manage the needle selection accordingly. Tuck knitting and slip stitches do not select, but thread lace and weave stitches will select. In interactive knitting, it will remind you to set the carriage or lock for the appropriate technique. For Japanese machines where there are 2 colors per row, Design Knit will know that an area is ferrule, but if the selected color also has the thread lace symbol, it will recognize that and give the appropriate instructions. Symbols which are not directly connected to knitting instructions and knitting selection are memo symbols, and they can be added to indicate and procedures such as shaping instructions without affecting the download. There are also symbols here for charting instructions for double bed. For hand knitting, there's a variety of symbols here for both plain and decorative knitting shaping techniques, both knitwise and purlwise. Smart symbols also indicate where to turn your knitting and other special functions, in as well as the charts for both color charts and abbreviation charts and text patterns. You can print out the key for the meaning of the symbols and their associated abbreviations to include with your chart and text pattern, and that's this text button here. I'll bring it down a little bit so you can see it. It's showing here this is the symbol knit, the abbreviation is knit, and the word is knit. Here's our twisted knitting instructions. This is the symbol knit through the back of the loop right here. This is slipwise knit side. This is a slip purlwise. This is a cast on knit method. This is a cast off decline method. Let's close this. Okay, we're back to our knitting symbols organizer. When I click on any of these, it's showing me where in the pattern this is, and it also shows me here the instructions that I would need to do on my knitting needles to accomplish this task for this particular stitch. Let's look at this stitch here. This is it says here, knit through the back of the loop. This is a twisted stitch. This one here next to it is a purl through the back of the loop, which is also a twisted stitch. This here, if I click on it, it says here cast off. This one here is yarn over, and it's shown here. The machine knit lace stitches are here if you have the lace tool add-on, and we'll discuss this in a separate video. The on-screen textures have a little orange square at the bottom, and you can see they're here, and they're the stitches up here, and these twisted stitches here. The blue left-hand corner stitches have no instructions allocated to them. That's these double bed techniques and some of these over here. The method that I'm going to be using for this particular one, it's set up currently as a hand knit pattern, flat pattern. We could make it circular if we want, to stockinette stitch and knitting at the right side of row 1 of the chart. If I want to switch to a knitting machine, I can do this here, and I'm going to be knitting on the SD08 and right now we're set up for wrong facing textures, which is fine because we're going to be doing a weaving technique. I can go back to hand knitting right here. I'm going to say OK to continue. The next thing that I can do is I can say alerts. I can pick this stitch and I can say alerts. Here's the stitch that we just picked. I can give it, let's say, an asterisk sound, and you can hear the sounds. It has different sounds for each, and you can assign these so that when you're knitting interactively, when it reaches a row with this symbol, it will give you this sound so that it reminds you that you're going to need to do something for this particular symbol. This is copy this to disk, your palette, and this brings up the context sensitive help, which talks about the related information directly related to what you're working on at the time. You can change the text instructions here. We've just discussed this so that it's exactly as you want it to be. These changes will be embedded in the pattern, but you can also create a set of instructions that you can apply when you need to. We can take things away from our palette by simply dragging them back to the KnitWriteFont. It's shown here that we've just moved this one. Let's take this one out. It's over here now. Let's take this stop character out. When I want to add stitches, I can add, let's say this one here for pick up 3 floats and bring it over. Let's add this symbol here. This is the thread lace symbol. This is the slip symbol for machine knitting, etc. So I can take things out by bringing them back this way. I can bring them back this way. I can also take, this one is pick up 2 floats, and I could put it on top of another one, and it will change that pattern for me. I say OK to continue, and you can see here in the palette on the bottom that we have these stitches symbols waiting for us to use in the knitting fabric. Thank you.